Welcome back to another episode of The Remarkable Show. Help me welcome our next guest, Bryant BLav Lavendar, to the show. BLav, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing super fantastic, Scott. How are you? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this with you, man.
BLav, if you're excited, that makes me more excited, man, because we're on this show talking about remarkable people making remarkable impact. And I couldn't think of a better person to bring on from the work you're doing with, expressing thoughts through poetry, the work you're doing in the community down in the Southeast. Man, we got a lot to unpack. So BLav, for the listeners, just give us a little background, how we know each other and, what you're working on today.
Okay. I'm Bryant Lavendar. I'm from Gulfport, Mississippi. Scott and I met at South Alabama. We would play college football together. He was the punter, man. Man had a foot. I'm talking about kicking 60 yards to walk off the field. Like, I ain't tackling nobody. I'm good. Post college, I was, undrafted free agent, got an opportunity to play arena ball. I played arena ball for 3 years, but in the midst of all that, I also became an author and a speaker. So from 2014 up until now, I have published 4 books, Mine Under Pigskin, Sweet Asylum, A Driven Fight for what They Said You Couldn't Have, which is my personal favorite, and Finding My Way Back. And so currently I'm working on my new book, which is called Encounters, that should be released in the fall of this year, yeah.
Oh, Lav, it's remarkable, man. Look, we're going to go back to the South days because you've done some cool stuff there, going to highlight, the number 5 jersey, because I think that's honestly one of the most remarkable attributes that a football player could have. But, this episode, we're going to break down, what a legacy is and how you're impacting the youth down there in Gulfport and the Gulf Coast, and how through poetry, you're making this remarkable impact for people that might not have seen that light. So, Lav, let's go back to South Alabama. You were a standout wide receiver. You wore the C on your jersey. But why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about Anthony Mostella and, what that experience was like when you were able to go ahead and represent that number 5 jersey?
Okay, so Anthony Mostella was a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal player, phenomenal teammate. He always pushed us to be great. Teammates of his, we called him Mo, so I'm going to refer to him as Mo. So Mo, he was just the guy that you could talk to about anything, he pushed you, he would call you out when you didn't want to be called out. He was that guy that you wanted to be, in the essence, not necessarily like him personally, but the type of player as when something went down, major, whether it was on the field or off the field. Hey Mo, I need some help. How do I deal with this? He was the guy that was really like the character of South Alabama football at the time. And that is, and when he passed away on his motorcycle accident, that was tragic. It was hard for everyone because he was close with everybody. Like, it's hard to be like, you can have teammates, but it's hard to be cool with everyone, Yep. And he was just cool with everyone. And I could see him, like his light-skinned face smiling now, like, come on, Lav, chill out, And he was a great dude. And honestly, going up into my senior year, people kept mumbling, "Hey, Lav, I heard you finna get the 5 jersey." And I was like, I don't want it. Like, I don't want the 5 jersey, And it wasn't because I was afraid to have it. It was the fact of like, that's my teammate's jersey. Like that is his jersey. And I didn't know if I could be what I needed to be for the team that represents number 5, and that was the thing. But when they said my name, I was like, okay, Mo, I got it. So let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I embraced it. And I told, they give us jerseys at the end of the year, in the frame. And I told Coach, I said, Coach, y'all better give me 8 because this is 5 is not my jersey. You better give me 8, and I wore it to honor him and to do the best I could with what I had. And hopefully I did what I was supposed to do for him.
And then some, man. They were big shoes to fill. And, Lav, I usually ask the guests to come on, tell us a little bit about their background, their stories. But, I didn't think we had to go all the way back, because you earning the right to wear that jersey at number 5 at South Alabama really just encapsulates the remarkable human that you are, right? I mean, and so I thought it was really cool, to go ahead and use that as a launching point. And, I want to spend the next little bit sort of talking about this idea of transitioning from an athlete, right, where we were performing at the highest caliber of our game, chasing a dream, and then going into the real world. And, you used poetry, as we alluded to earlier, to sort of bridge that gap. Talk to the listeners what that journey was like for you and how you figured out that the pen and paper was going to be an outlet for you.
Okay, so for you all that don't know, my dad passed away when I was 13. That's actually when I picked up the pen and paper to write. And at first, I just started writing, my feelings down on paper. I needed an escape from my real life, and then I needed an escape from football because of the pressures of ball and the demand. And so I just kept writing. And then in college, I share some stuff with my sister's mom, and she was like, "You need to put a book out." And I was like, I got football. I ain't worried about that right now. And so at that point, I was writing poetry because it was just something that was easy to do. It was free verse, so I didn't have to fit anything in a certain frame or a certain soliloquy or 5-7-5 or anything like that. So I just kind of just wrote down my thoughts on paper. It was really like a journal, and it just turned into poetry. I would rhyme with certain words, not on purpose, just on accident. It would just come out like that. And so 2014, Minor the Pigskin, my first poetry book, and then Sweet Asylum, my second poetry book. And then there was a transition between that's when I actually started writing poetry, and I started writing like real stories, and so Driven, Fight for What They Said You Couldn't Have, which is my sport biography, is a real story. It's a regular book. And then so it's Finding My Way Back. And then Encounters is actually, it's a real book, but it's actually more tailored to dialogue of relationships, what I'm saying, kind of encounters between a young man and females, what I'm saying, how he interacts with them, and what happens if they become friends, if they date, or and when they end things. And so the concept of that is relationships grow or die based on what you give it.
Yeah, man, this is fun, Lav. And one of the things that I've always been enamored by you is the ability to reach one and teach one, right? It's always been this mentality. It's never been for a self-prophecy. It's always been to try and, raise all the boats in the harbor with the tide. And so, what has that been like? Have you been able to go ahead and take, your writing and, go from paper to now bringing it in front of folks and young children? Or, how are you reaching back into the community and making an impact?
Actually, I have had the opportunity. Right before the pandemic happened, I was going on speaking engagements, and I would go to schools, high schools, middle schools, even in some elementary schools and stuff like that. And I also would go into like businesses and talk to corporate companies, you know what I mean. And so I everything was beginning to like rev up, and so when COVID hit, I actually had like four engagements lined up before the year ended, up for 2020. So I was rolling. I was like, let's go, and then COVID hit, and then everything stopped. But I would always have these thoughts, of these certain things of like, man, what is this? What how can I still be a light? How can I still encourage people? And when I say people, I mean people of all ages. And so man, I started to like dissect and like just put out some clips of old videos that I had, and people started liking it and sharing it. And then I just started to just questions to just pop up, and then I would just, all right, let me just put this out there and see, whatever happens, as long as I can reach one, because I've never been the type of person to just want to do everything by myself. I've always been a team player. And so I believe that the only reason why I am where I am is because other people gave me the opportunity. Other people helped me be who I was. And so because of their teammate ability, them to be a teammate to pull me, it's only right that I pull them. I have this speech that I haven't even spoken yet, but I'm gonna give it to you. It's called Self-Made. I think not. That's the title of the message, because nowadays everybody's like, I'm self-made. But let's think about that though. Let's think about being self-made. That means you were able to create something that nobody else created, that nobody else put a hand in, and then you were also able to buy it and pay. No, come on, let's be real. Like before you ever got here, your mama and your daddy got together to even bring you into the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on,
Preach.
you are self-made. Like, let come on. And then on top of that, okay, you say you got it out the mud. You know, there's a terminology. Or I'm self-made. Didn't nobody help me? That coach had to give you playing time. You know, that investor had to believe in you for that one moment to get. Come on, like you didn't do anything by yourself. Like there's nothing that we could do by ourselves. Somebody taught you something. You didn't learn the game just out of thin air. Somebody had to teach you the principles of what you got. So self-made, I think not. You know, let me break it down why you're not. You know, and that's the real essence. You know, everybody wants to kind of do things by themselves, but we were created and designed to connect with people.
So let me ask you this, right? We've now been in a pandemic for the last 13, 14 months, and I couldn't agree with you more, right? Like nothing is self-made, and you know, it takes a community. But Lav, I don't know about you, but you know, going inside and you know, not being around people, like I didn't realize how much I needed that community. And so, you know, there was this weird sort of intersection of with social media. People were thinking they were self-made, but then you have COVID and it was like a train collision, right? And you realize, hey, without this community, what do we really have, right? So what is it, you know, you're down in Mississippi, you know, I mean, everywhere in the country and the world is handling COVID different. Give everyone a little taste. What's it like there on the Gulf Coast right now? Do you see the community coming back together? What's that experience been like for you?
For me, like down here, I just see more families connecting, you know. Before COVID, you know, families were busy. They were so busy that they didn't really spend that much time with one another. So like down here, there's more families are spending more time together. You actually get to know your children, you know, and know what they think. And you know, I believe COVID put us in a position that we needed to connect back with our own family. And it's really weird because, man, I just finished this episode called Genius, and it was talking about Albert Einstein. It was all about Albert Einstein and how he was so great. And so his, you know, the characters and thing, his son had said something that was so powerful. He said, "Dad, you're so great with everyone else. You're so good with other people, but you're horrible with your own family." And so it brings me back to the story of Noah. Like, you know, some people call Noah, you know, in the Bible, a failure and a hero, you know, because he wasn't able to reach anybody other than his family, you know. And then I was reading the Bible, you know, and then it said, well, what good is it for you to reach everybody else but not your family? Like, how can you be great to everyone else but not your family? And so that really like stuck with me, because it's like, man, like you can be great to everyone else, but if you're a loser to your family, then what is that? Where's the balance in that? Like, and I'm not saying it's easy to balance. I'm just saying how do we balance that? Like, you know, because as a football player, as an athlete, we work to make our weaknesses stronger, you know, or turn it into a strength. So if me being great to everyone else is a strength, then I need to work. Okay, well, I don't need to work on that anymore. Let me work on my family. Like, let me work on being, you know, stronger and more cohesive with my family. That way, when we do have problems that arise, because problems will come up, we're able to communicate, we're able to dissect, and we're able to find a solution for that problem.
You see, guys, this is why I brought Bryant Lavendar on the Remarkable Show. I mean, this is so true, and it's so foundational, right, Lav? And I think for a long time, you know, this idea of success was taught to us in a way where family almost got deprioritized, right? Where it was, you know, you got to be, you know, once you hit success, you got to go to the next level. Then you got to go to the next level. And I think COVID for me really opened the eyes to say, hey, I have a lot of remarkable things around me right here, right? And so it was always that balance of, I don't want to become complacent because you want to push the needle forward, but I'm also really happy with what I have, right? I don't need to go chase more. And so, you know, Lav, I'm really curious, right? Because you've done so much beyond what I could have ever imagined as far as impact goes coming out of South Alabama. What's next for you, right? What is the big picture, you know, for BLav as far as a legacy goes? Where do you want to take this thing?
Man, I want to be a consistent spark plug that catapults people into their purpose. And that is my essence. I knew when I left South Alabama, and I was like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? You know, I knew that I had a love for football. Well, my love for football never left. I love football, but it's like, okay, well, just go coach. You know what I mean? But I used to tell myself when I was little, I was like, man, I don't want to just be, a regular coach. Nothing wrong with coaches, nothing wrong with that. Like, and when I say regular, I'm not calling everyone else that coaches a regular coach. I'm saying me personally, like I would have been just a regular coach because I was like, I would have felt like, man, I'm not doing, I feel like I should be doing more. There was so many things that was going on. Like, you should go coach. You'll be a great coach. And I'm just like, well, why should I corner my ability to help someone to just one group of people when I could let more than one group here, you know what I mean? And so I just took the other route. Yeah, it's harder. Yeah, it didn't start off like, oh my God, like, everybody trying to come get me to come talk or, read my books or whatever. But I believed that there was so much more that I could do. And what I'm doing now is the best way to be able to do that. I said something I said, if I don't bet on me, then who's going to bet on me?
Say that again.
Because
say that again.
If I don't bet on me, then who is going to bet on me? If I have a major purpose, if I have something that will push people to be great, then I have to take risk. I have to take chances. We took a chance on South Alabama. Look what happened. We took everything that we do as athletes, we take a chance on, because guess what? There's no guarantee that we were going to play the next game.
Yep.
There was no guarantee. And and people fight for security. There's nothing 100% secure in life, And when you realize that, when I realized that there was nothing 100% naturally secure in life, why not take risk? Why not see what happens? Like, why not? Every great person, athlete, singer, songwriter, film director, anybody that's in any business that's the top of the game, they had to take a risk. That's the common denominator. If they didn't take that risk, we wouldn't know them.
Do you feel, as you've been now taking risks for years on years, has that gotten easier in embracing the journey and saying, hey, the journey is the destination, and so I'm able to be more present? Or do you still find it really hard to take those risks as you get older and they magnify a little bit more?
For me, it's been easier. It's gotten easier, because there's faith, just having faith, living my faith out loud. Just the project I just got done doing, like there was things I did on purpose. I'm not saying everyone is easy, but what I'm saying is the ability to do things that nobody else is doing or nobody takes a chance on is easier, because as long as there's so many people doing wrong in the world, if you just do right, you'll look so much better. Well, okay, I do things right. I try to do things to the best of my ability. So then I just, when you take a risk, it's like, okay, well, if it's a no, it's okay. I've been turned down many times before. I've heard the no's. It only takes one yes.
Lav, this is the message that people need to hear right now. And this is why I brought you on the show. I remember, the huddles when you'd come in there and you were still working on your speeches, right? And then you'd get up in your senior year in front, and there's just something, you can feel the passion. And I don't have to be in a room with you. We don't even have to be seeing each other on a screen. You hear this and it speaks to the soul. And so I love the work you're doing. Lav, let's talk a little bit about what's on the horizon, right? And I want to talk more specific to you, right? So if folks want to get more engaged with Bryant Lavendar, which everyone listening needs to be, where can they find you? You talked a little bit about your new book coming out. Give us some stuff that you're working on right now.
All right. So you can find me on all social media platforms. My name is Bryant Lavendar. If you want to connect with me on my website, it's www.bryantlavendar.com, and it'll have all my books there. My last 2 books are the only ones that I have as audio books. So if you don't like to read on paper, you can listen. And the next thing that's on the horizon is, man, I just been writing. I've actually started. I'm about to finish Encounters, like I said, and then I'm actually kind of started writing a 6th book, just playing with it, thinking about some ideas, writing that stuff down. Man, other than that, man, I've been making major connections. There's some engagements coming up that I haven't solidified yet. So there, you know, it's a lot of stuff going on, and that's all I can say. Like
I
it's
love it, man. Well,
going
listen,
on.
we're going to bring you back on the show. Your journey's remarkable. You're a remarkable human being. And I think everyone can take nuggets from this that they can work back into their life. And all of them are so valuable, Lav. But the one that stuck out to me the most is, why not take the risk? Nothing is 100% guaranteed. So if you have a gut feeling, if you have an inclination, and you feel like you can push the needle forward, make this place a little better, listen to this episode, reach out to BLav, because he'll give you the words that'll push it forward. Now, Lav, I got one special treat before we leave.
Okay.
I was doing a little digging before this show, and I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
I got the OG football man with the whole original South Alabama team on here, and I found you on here somewhere. I don't know where you're at, but
I saw it. It's at the bottom. I saw it.
But man, listen, I got to tell you, and I want all the listeners to know this: life is a marathon. You never know when you're going to meet the real people along the way. BLav and I met over a decade ago, which is crazy. I feel old saying that now. But lean into the people that are special and remarkable in your world, because you never know the impact that they're going to make, whether that's tomorrow, in 5 years, or in 20 years. And so BLav, from Scott Garber, the host, your friend, your former colleague and teammate, dude, keep doing what you're doing. We love the impact you're making. I'm going to give you the last word today. So what do you want to send our listeners away with, something remarkable that they can take and put into their life?
Don't get distracted. You're in line waiting. You see the destination, and everybody's getting what they wanted. Well, if you're in line, that means you're next up. Don't be so mad that you have to wait in line, that when it's time for your next up, when you're next up, when you get to the plate, that you forget what you're there for.
Ooh, let that soak in, listeners. Bryant, BLav, Lavendar, thank you so much for coming on the show. You are one remarkable human being. All you listeners, be sure to tune in, like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.